Did we ever figure out an intro?
No,
Hmm? Okay.
didn't.
Um,
I think
well,
we can just go with welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast. Well, it's not the Deep Dive Podcast. Welcome!
hashtag deep.
We're getting hashtag deep today.
Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
This'll be in the intro. This'll be the intro. Hello and welcome to hashtag deep, the Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Apple.
And I'm your other host, Spoons.
Today we're going to be discussing Bo Burnham.
Yay! My
So-
beloved.
If you guys don't know, this is a new podcast we're going to be doing, hopefully every other week, depending on topics, so we can do research. Basically, we're going to be doing topics every other episode, talking about different kind of things that our brains are kind of obsessed with at the moment.
Stuck on.
Showing and telling, basically. So,
Yeah.
I hope you guys are excited. Today, Spoons is going to be taking over for the most part. This is kind of their realm of stuff. So I'm going to be listening, and they will be showing and telling. So.
Oh yeah. I hope you have some comments too on the things
Oh
I'll
yeah, absolutely.
discuss.
You know I can't shut up, so it's fine.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce the man, the myth, the legend.
Okay, so our topic today is Bo Burnham. His birthday is August 21st, 1990, so he is 32 as of now,
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Yes.
He was born in Hamilton, Massachusetts.
Woo.
And he's most well known, I would say, although his other work is amazing as well. He's most well known for Inside.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a valid statement.
I think so, yeah. I think that's kind of when he entered more mainstream media. So
I would say people kind of found out about him during Make Happy. That's kind of when I was introduced. But
Yeah.
I would say 90% of people... I almost said unfortunately, which isn't true.
no.
Most people I say would know him for Inside.
Yeah, I
'Cause
think
that's kind
so.
of his masterpiece.
Magnum opus.
yeah.
Is that the right word?
That's
I
what I
don't
was
actually-
gonna say. That's what I was gonna say, but I couldn't
Pièce
find.
de résistance. I don't know all those fancy words. Anyway, before we get into Inside, I guess I'll just give you like brief overview of some of the other things he's worked on because I think they're all of them are cool. So I found Bo Burnham when I was in high school, which was
Eons ago.
eons ago, and also during his 5-year break when he stopped doing comedy. So it was kind of interesting to discover this person and then be like, where's the content? Where did he go?
Yeah.
But before even that, Bo Burnham got his roots on YouTube. He started in 2006. I was like a child. I was literally 5 in 2006.
I would have been 4.
Yeah, so I was not on YouTube at this time, so obviously I didn't discover him then. But he always talks about like I watched a lot of interviews with Bo, and he like didn't even know what YouTube was when he uploaded. He thought it was just like I'm just gonna send this over to my brother, and people are telling me to upload it on this site, so I guess I'll do that. And his first song was "My Whole Family Thinks I'm Gay," which is
Valid.
yeah. But apparently the video was reposted to break.com. I don't know what that is. Apparently Apple does. But
Break,
it's
for those of you who don't know, this is something that I actually found out a while ago researching something for high school. Break.com, I believe, used to be a website for people working in offices. So, it's
riveting.
its layout is supposed to look like some sort of desktop kind of office-y, what's the word I'm looking for? Program. So it's supposed to look like a mailing program so that you look like you're doing work, but it's also a way to kind of look at videos, listen to audios, play games. One of those old like Flash websites where they have basically everything on them. But
Yeah.
I thought it was cool because apparently people enjoy to slack off when they're at
Yeah.
office jobs.
So My Whole Family Thinks I'm Gay was reposted to break.com. And in its first few weeks, it gained over 1 million views, which I imagine in 2006 was pretty impressive. I mean, obviously, Bo Burnham is here and doing amazing things now. So that kind of kickstarted his career. I think he was like 16 when he uploaded that, which, dude, what was I doing at 16? Like,
watching YouTube.
Being sad. I don't So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how he got started. And then throughout high school, he posted more and more songs on YouTube. A lot of them are viewed with a much more critical lens now. Humor has changed. Many of his songs are now considered very offensive. And he has apologized multiple times for those, but I am not, part of any of the groups that were affected by them. So I'm not going to say like, oh, everyone needs to chill out. So
I don't think we're definitely not saying that those things are offensive. We're just saying that it was a very different time.
Right.
Back then.
Yeah. Jokes were very different. So it makes sense that like those would be, especially like as comedians, comedians take a lot of kind of more taboo topics and make them content. So yeah, I mean, just background. Anyway, so then, we get into college era, and Bo was accepted at Harvard, Brown, and New York University, and decided not to go so that he could pursue comedy.
Me too.
And I respect it, but also, Harvard? He got into Harvard. And then was just like, nah, let's just skip it. I'll just go, be the most successful comedian ever.
I mean, he's doing the damn thing.
He's doing the thing. So that's like how he got started doing stand-up. In 2009, when he was 18, his Comedy Central special was released. Actually, I suppose I don't know when during the year it was, but anyway, he filmed it when he was 18. It was like a week after he turned 18, and that's crazy. Yeah, I know. That made him the youngest comedian to ever have a special on Comedy Central. And that's still the case. He's still the youngest person to have a Comedy Central special, which is redonkulous. Hello.
Well, I wonder if that's less that he would be the youngest comedian to have a special and more so that he, comedians are more influencers now, I would say.
That's true,
So it's more, I would say it's more familiar for a comedian to upload onto YouTube or something like that rather than go on Comedy Central.
I think at the time Comedy Central was kind of like the place to be.
Oh yeah.
But now it's like you can get your roots anywhere basically.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be easier honestly to get a Netflix special than to be on Comedy Central at this point. Because it's just more accessible.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, that's I don't know about Netflix, but I think it's easier to just get your content out to people of your own volition than by going through
well, I mean, not necessarily
platform.
Just Netflix, but
right, yeah.
A more accessible platform than a TV station.
Mm-hmm. So from there, he had the Words special in 2010, and then What in 2013, and then also in 2013, he had a very short TV show called Zach Stone is Gonna Be Famous, and people always say this thing was ahead of its time, and we should watch it now because it's relevant. Zach Stone is Gonna Be Famous is the epitome of that. It's about a teenage boy played by Bo who wants to be famous. His name is Zach Stone, and the title pretty much says it all. And so every episode is him trying out different ways to be famous. And he does cooking. He tries to make a scary video to get a funny jump scare video. All these sorts of things to try and, get that little bit of fame. And for that to be a theme in 2013, I don't know, that feels kind of progressive.
Oh, yeah.
But I just watched it for the first time over the summer, and I related to it now in 2022 as an aspiring content creator. Anyway, and then in 2016 he did his last tour, Make Happy, which talked a lot about his anxiety as a performer and was a visually stunning show. I thought it was gorgeous. And he actually said that he wanted it to be first and foremost a show for camera, for film. So some of the bits in person didn't really make sense to the audience because they were always meant to be viewed up close. Especially if you've seen Make Happy, the last number, I've hit my microphone, the Kanye rant, where he talks about burritos and going to the gym and Pringle cans. That's always he always meant for that to be viewed very closely. So I just think that's you can see like hints of where he got things from inside in his earlier work. And I think Make Happy is kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, that last number feels like the vibe of Inside.
That also
which I respect.
There's also the bit in I think it's Make Happy, where he has that joke about how editors have more power than the performers. Or is that
that's in what he does the I got a joke about video editors. Video editors are so, and then he cuts to the next scene. Yeah, and then he had something similar to that in Make Happy, where he did he said, "Do you guys know what continuity errors are?" And he has a sweater on, and then it cuts to another scene and he's got a t-shirt on. Anyway, so yeah, this I think it's so cool, like how he messes with like the form and just like the filming aspect of it, when most people like go to a comedy special and they expect it to be like, you know, for the audience that's literally sitting there at that time, but Bo's considerate of the film too, which is nice.
I think that's also something that sets him apart, because for other tours, I think that's kind of the main focus, is to make it worthwhile for the people that go see it live. But I think he does a very good job of balancing that, where it's like, it is fun for the people that go and see it, but it's also very entertaining for the people that are watching at home. Yeah.
So that's cool. Also, fun fact, contrary to popular belief, Bo orders bowls from Chipotle, not burritos. So he lied to us in Make Happy.
It's the better
anyways, so after Make Happy, a show that very much talks about Bo's anxiety with performance, man said goodbye, stopped performing, and went on to do some other cool stuff. Everyone thinks he kind of just disappeared for 5 years. He didn't. He was doing cool things, including writing and directing an entire film called 8th Grade, which has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't think is as rare as my brain wants me to think it is, but 99% is still 99%. Like, that's very good. And I think this, if anything, like, I know I was talking about how Make Happy feels like it has a lot of themes from inside, but I think 8th Grade is the film where, like, those themes are really kind of realized before Inside. So 8th Grade is about an 8th grade girl in her last week of 8th grade who is just trying to survive, and the film talks a lot about the internet. Bo wanted to tell a story about someone that no one is watching. She has a YouTube channel and her videos get like 2 views, which relatable. Like, me too. So I can relate a lot to that main character. But yeah, so 8th Grade is a really cool film. Again, I recommend all of Bo's work for everybody. I think everybody can find something in it, and the coolest thing about Bo's stuff is that it is so ambiguous that you can derive meaning from it however you want, and I think that's awesome. But to talk about 8th Grade a little bit, when I was watching interviews of Bo talking about 8th Grade, because that was kind of like the last press tour he did was for 8th Grade, so it's like the most recent like interview clips we have are from then. I think it was in 2018 was 8th Grade. Yeah, so we were missing a couple years, but that's okay.
2018 or 20, I think it was either released in 2017, late 17, or 2018. It was one of those, because I know the awards he got for 2018.
Yeah, I think it was. So I think it was released in 2018. Okay. But it's just some like things I found interesting from when he was talking about the film during interviews. He talks about how the performance of who you want to be is more honest than who you actually are. So like trying to pick the character of the movie of your life by like trying out different things says a lot more about you than like the person that you are in the moment. And I feel like that rings true for a lot of people. Like the person that I portray when I'm doing content, the person I'm portraying now says more about me than the person I am when I'm sitting at home in my bed watching YouTube. So
I think it has to be being like self-critical. Like,
for sure.
Based off of what you want other people to see and who you think is honest versus the stuff that you hide. I think it's right. It also has to do with Inside, but you know.
Yeah. And then like with the movie, Bo wanted to ensure that people knew that the struggle to tell your own story and to find out who you are is good. And like, that's a story in and of itself. And like, you don't have to be a fully realized person in order to have a story worth telling. Which like Thanks, Bo.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I feel so validated.
All of his content feels just like a hug and like a
It
therapy
does.
session
It does.
sometimes.
Yeah. Tears included. Eighth grade is rated R, which I've always found interesting because as someone who lived through the eighth grade, I thought it was rated R. So, I mean, it makes sense that the movie would be rated R because... But anyway, it's not like rated R in the sense like you go watch it and you walk away being like, oh no, I'm like traumatized and like everything I saw was gross. It's like, no, you just witness real life and real life is rated R. So
I would say, yeah, it's very real to how it would be living through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like living through life is rated R, which is a weird saying, but I think it's true.
No, it's true. So, and then another thing that Bo talks about is like the drama of our lives. Like this is like when he was coming up with the idea, he wanted the story of an eighth grader to feel big and feel dramatic, even if like she was just going to a pool party.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you watch the film, there's like really close shots of her face and you can tell she doesn't want to be seen in that moment, but we linger on it and like that's uncomfortable. And like it just really emphasizes kind of like the drama of every day. Because like something he talked about was like when you go to a supermarket and you like yell at someone because they're doing something weird and then your heart races for like 2 hours afterwards, like that's a very low stakes interaction and yet it feels so much bigger than it is because of like the performance of it and like the anxiety of that. So eighth grade, everybody, great movie, fantastic.
I also want to point out, this is just from, I don't know if this is 100% true, but from what I've seen people talk about how it was directed very well because I mean they were dealing with a child actor and a lot of the scenes do have to deal with uncomfortable situations, and I think from what I've seen from other people who worked on the movie with Bo and also from what he spoke about himself, he wanted everything to be very safe for the actress but also still make you think as a viewer because some of the things are like I feel uncomfortable watching this and I don't know why. Right. But it's a very good movie.
Like the movie kind of challenged you to question why you feel uncomfortable in certain situations. Like what makes something scary, and there's like one scene specifically, which I guess spoiler, the movie was released 4 years ago, I'm gonna spoil things.
We're not expecting you guys to go and watch all of this.
There's a scene wherein the main character Elsie is in a car with an older boy who's in high school, and he comes to sit in the back seat with her and starts to play a game of truth or dare with her, which if you are at all, you know, socially literate, you realize that like an older man and a younger girl in a car playing truth or dare is probably not going to end well. So your heart is already like racing. You're already sitting on the edge of your seat of like, what's going to happen? And at some point he asks her to take her shirt off. And she says no, which yes, say no to people.
Good job,
no
Elsie.
No is a full sentence. Elsie Fisher's the actor, not the character. Sorry. What's the character's name?
I'm not sure, but I'm
totally blanking. Elsie Fisher's the actor. She's fantastic. I forget the character's name. But that's like basically where the scene ends is her saying no and running out of the car and going to her house. And like that feels very like low stakes when you say it in words. It's like, oh, they were sitting in the back of the car and he like wanted her to take her shirt off. Like that's not, and then she didn't do it. Like what's so scary about that? But the way it's filmed and the way it feels, like you understand when you're in that car with her how scary that moment is.
It feels like, the best way I can describe it is that scene feels claustrophobic. Like it feels like even as a person watching, it feels like, why am I so anxious? Right. And I think anyone who's ever had that kind of situation either happen to them or happen to someone they know, the beginning of the scene you already have your red flags up. Like you're 100%. Already on edge just seeing the opening to that scene. But I think it does a very good job of still like leaving you almost, I don't want to say unsatisfied, but like you almost are like, well, there's still no closure there. And I think that's important to like you sit with that feeling and like realize why you feel that way. Right. Yeah. Especially about a movie, you know. Yeah, it's an intense scene. It's very like, ooh, that, ow, my heart. I would say if you haven't seen any of Bo Burnham's work, because I'm just assuming most of you who are watching this have seen Inside, I would say watch 8th Grade.
Yes.
Other than anything else that he's made, I would say 8th Grade is probably like the one I would push most, other than Inside.
I agree. Especially because I think like a lot of people don't know that Bo was involved in it because he's not in it.
I didn't. I watched the movie without knowing he was involved, and then I realized later.
Yeah. So, I think like you can watch it not as like a Bo Burnham fan if you have no idea who Bo Burnham is. Like it will still be relevant to you, and you can still appreciate it. Like obviously I watched it because I like Bo Burnham, but like even if I didn't, like I would have found value in it. And I think everyone can. There's a reason it's got a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's all I'm saying. So that was the thing that he did during his 5-year break. And then the other thing, the most recent thing before Inside, was he co-starred in a movie called Promising Young Woman in 2020. I think it was filmed earlier, but it was released in 2020.
It was pre-COVID, but it got delayed.
Yeah. Yes. So another great movie. Again, I'm going to spoil it. But Bo accepted the role because of the way his character kind of subverted expectations. If Ryan, the character he was playing, had turned out to be like the stereotypical good guy and like hadn't had this kind of arc at the end where we realized, you know, all these red flags we've been maybe subtly seeing but not really paying attention to, they all kind of culminate into him being an asshole at the end.
I am a sucker for unreliable narrators.
Yes, it's awesome.
Good movie again.
Yeah, but he said like if it had turned out that his character was just a nice chill dude, he wouldn't have taken the role because he appreciated how that character turned out to be like all the other guys in the movie. And basically the movie shows like every dude is pretty bad on some level, not in like a yeah cute like down with the patriarchy type of way, but in like a hey men, look at your own actions and like realize when the things you are doing are not okay, which I appreciate. So that was a thing that he did before Inside. And then we get to the beautiful masterpiece that is Inside. And after I go through like all these different works, we'll have like, I'm going to talk about like the themes of Inside and all his other work and how they all tie together because they do, and it's awesome. Anyway, Inside, everybody knows it, hopefully. It's a fantastic art piece, I think is the only way I can describe it. It's marketed as a comedy special, but it is not a comedy special. You don't cry at the end of comedy specials.
No, that is clickbait if I have ever seen it. Because I had no idea what to think going into it. I just saw that it was being promoted and that on Netflix it was tagged as, you know, comedy, live special, all of those like things. I think it's now been tagged as a drama. Correct me if I'm wrong. I
don't know if it is.
I'm not sure, but
it should be tagged as tearjerker. That's what it should be.
Thriller.
Yeah. So Inside is beautiful. Inside is, I could talk for hours about Inside. I won't. I'll spare you the.
We could probably do a whole podcast episode just on Inside.
Speaking of, if I may, steer credit towards somebody else's podcast in the course of ours, there's a really cool podcast called the Dissect Podcast. It is really cool. There's an 8-episode series, I think, just on Inside. So it's like 8 hours of someone just talking about the musical themes of Inside, which is
amazing.
Incredible.
It's not only just like emotional from the standpoint of they enjoyed it, but it's also very like informational. Like, if you don't know a lot about music theory or how music works and emotion and psychology works, highly recommend.
Oh, it's so good.
That series of episodes.
I love it.
Also, just the Dissect podcast in general.
Yes, I agree. We love them. Big claps to Dissect. Inside's awesome. Inside's cool. Inside was released in 2021. And then after Inside, he kind of disappeared again. He's been bopping around doing some cool things, but he hasn't done really. Yeah, wearing ski masks at the Emmys, which is super cool. But some other things he's done in recent years, kind of going back in time a little bit, he has directed 2 of his friends' special, Gerard Carmichael's specials 8 in 2017 and Rothaniel in 2022. And I just watched Rothaniel, and oh my gosh, was it beautiful?
I've only seen clips of it. I haven't seen it yet.
Rothaniel's really good. And then he also directed Chris Rock's special Tambourine in 2018. So he's bobbing around directing lots of people's specials. Actually, right now he's directing Kate Berlant's special, it's not really a comedy special. I think it's classified as a one-woman show. But he's directing that right now, which is super cool. And then his most recent personal work was the Inside Outtakes, which were just released in May.
And destroyed both of us.
Yes, but it also kind of felt like Bo giving us permission to laugh again. Because the outtakes were a little, they were funnier than Inside as a whole. Mm-hmm. And so it was almost like Bo was like, hey, stop crying. I'm a comedian. Depressed. I'm a comedian. You can laugh again. So I appreciated that.
I don't think he realized how emotionally... I don't want to say draining, because it was draining, but emotionally wrecking Inside was going to be for not only his new audience that are just watching this, but also his past audience that have been waiting for something from him for the last 5 years.
Yeah. I would love to know... First of all, I would just love to talk to Bo Burnham. Oh, so if anybody watching this has any connections...
If you need a podcast to talk, listen.
Email's in the description. Anyway,
we'll change the title of the podcast, I promise.
Okay, yeah, we never talked about that. We stole our podcast title from Bo. That's why our first episode is on Bo. I guess we should have said that at the beginning. Well, but yeah, we're doing our first episode on Bo because we stole our podcast title from one of his songs.
We did.
#deep. Anyway. Good song. Yeah. So, I would love to talk to Bo. I would especially love to know if he thought that Inside was going to be as well received as it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, he sold it to Netflix, which makes sense because his other specials are on Netflix. But did he think it would shape an entire pandemic or the latter half of a pandemic?
I don't know, honestly.
It feels like 2021 after it was released, the whole rest of the year was my TikTok For You page was just Bo Burnham. My YouTube recommended was all Bo Burnham. I still get Bo Burnham stuff. So I would love to know if he was if he had high hopes for it or if it was just a thing that he was okay, I'm done with it, have it. I don't know. I would love to know. So, okay, just to run through some things really quick before we get into discussing themes and stuff. Man's got lots of awards. For 8th grade, he received, he won, I don't know if I'm going to list all of these, but he won a bunch of things. Best New Filmmaker, Outstanding Directing on a First Time Feature Film, Best Original Screenplay, all these beautiful, wonderful awards for 8th grade. And then for Inside, he got 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, the Creative Emmys, Outstanding Directing for a Variety Special, Outstanding Writing for a Variety Special, Outstanding Music Direction, and then All Eyes on Me also won a Grammy, which is ridiculous. Best Song Written for Visual Media. Much. I know, I agree. So yeah, just incredible work. And then he's been nominated for a bunch of stuff as well. For Promising Young Woman, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which he should have won. I think he should have won because he did a really great job, especially for it being kind of his first acting stint.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah. Anyway, my man's is successful. I think that's what that's the conclusion we've reached, is my man's is successful.
Successful, but also deserving of how much success he's had. He has, like you said, shaped an entire generation at this point. I think anyone...
Yeah.
I don't want to limit it to an age, but I think if anything, the 17 to 25-year-old generation.
It feels like the older Gen Zers really get Bo Burnham. And funnily enough, I think Bo Burnham gets us too, if 8th grade is anything to go off of.
I think so too. I think one thing that I feel very validated from is the fact that even for someone who is twice my age, or not really, but for someone that is definitely in a different age group than me.
He's not that old.
He's what? He's 32.
He's 32.
So he's 12 years older than me. But for someone that is in a different age group, to get me on such a very personal level and to get a whole generation on such a very personal level, I think that takes a lot of work, and I think that takes a lot of listening to what's going on in the people in that generation. And I think that's something that I wish I would see more from people who try to do what Bo Burnham is doing. Because
Yeah.
definitely after Inside, I will say there has been a huge influx in music comedians and like that genre and style of comedy. I think a lot of people are trying to recreate Inside. I don't think it will ever be possible. I don't
No.
think even Bo Burnham could recreate Inside if he tried.
Yeah.
But amazing work. It's hard to even explain because it's just like
it's just so good. And I
the girls who get it.
I always feel conflicted when praising Bo Burnham because I know he doesn't like it very much.
Yeah.
And like I'd never want to put him on a pedestal and say like he's the best comedian ever. Like, you know, he I mean, but I think like he does deserve credit for the things that he's done, and like you know, being able to explain such complex and sort of misunderstood concept with such clarity. So yeah, Bo's great, Bo's cool. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about his psyche. Let's do it.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm a really big fan of like psychology, figuring out the way people's brains work, the types of things that they like to talk about. So Bo is very interesting to me. Before we get into that, some people that he's inspired by, some people that he has mentioned, Douglas Rushkoff, who is the author of some really great books, one of which Apple and I have both read, called Present Shock, and Bo has also read it. And it's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. It's a little dense if you're not kind of familiar with the concepts he's presenting, but very good book anyway. And Bo and Douglas actually did a podcast together, which is a very interesting episode, which talks about a lot of the things I'm going to discuss now as well.
I'm actually going to link it for those of you who want to watch it. I'm going to put it down there so you guys can watch it, because that's...
Yeah. If you're on Spotify, I think we can link things in a Spotify description, yeah?
Yeah, I'll also put it for the visual people on YouTube. I will put it in the description, and I consider that essential listening to...
I do too.
...accompany this. So.
It's very good. So some other people, comedians, George Carlin, Steve Martin, Hans Taywin, just a couple. He's mentioned a lot of other ones as well, but I think those are the three that he kind of draws the most inspiration from. And then some movies that he has mentioned: One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, George Washington, 2000, released in the year 2000, Woman Under the Influence, 1974, Raw, 2016, Fat Girl, 2001, and Best in Show, 2000. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was 1975, sorry, forgot the year. And I think, like, if you watch a lot of those movies, a lot of them deal with the theme of, like, being uncomfortable, which we did talk about earlier. Like, they kind of make you feel like, oh, or like, whoa, or, you know, those are really great noises that I just made. But yeah, that's the theme that comes into those movies.
It's the best way to describe it,
so.
Honestly.
And,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just a thing between the both of us. We oftentimes watch movies that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I think like the prime example of that from this list is Raw, which is a movie that I could literally not get through.
I've watched
I don't even know if I want to describe it for our viewers or listeners.
Google is free.
Google's free.
So,
Google's free. Go look up Raw if you like disturbing things.
I would recommend, if you do Google it, incognito tab would be best for you.
Yes. Anyway,
discretion is advised.
and then after you do that, just stop and think a little bit about the fact that this is one of Bo Burnham's favorite movies.
Yeah.
And see what that tells you about him. No offense, Bo,
question why, if you don't watch it, question why you didn't want to watch it, and if you did watch it, like me, multiple times, question why you decided to rewatch it.
Anyway, so
question me. That's the statement here.
All right. So first thing I want to discuss is like something that I don't want to talk a lot about because it feels weird to comment on someone else's mental state when they're not literally here. But obviously Bo has been very open about his experiences with anxiety. So I feel like it must be discussed because it's kind of a theme that comes into play a lot.
And we're not saying anything that hasn't really already been said,
right,
to an extent.
I don't want to like make personal comments on it. So Bo has always been an anxious person. He said in multiple interviews that during high school he was kind of in and out of the hospital with stomach problems that turned out to just be anxiety, which relatable. I can feel that. And then he had his first actual panic attack on stage at 23, which
sounds terrifying to me.
It does sound terrifying.
As someone who has panic attacks and also someone who has been on a stage multiple times, combining those two things sounds world-shattering, honestly.
Absolutely. And then he had more, all of which were on stage except for one, I believe, which was on a train. But like,
still the
idea of standing in front of people and being like at your most vulnerable and still having to carry on and like do an entire show, like that gives me anxiety, and I'm not even the one doing it.
Oh yeah.
Whew. But in some of the interviews for 8th grade, Bo talked about his experience with anxiety and how he felt like it was very particular to his situation. You know, this like mid-20s white guy performing comedy to a bunch of people, and like the anxiety of performing. And then he found out, like, by people coming up to him after the shows, that it was not unique, and like that experience was very shared, like constantly performing for people. And he said like part of the reason he wanted to do 8th grade was because the people that came up to him after shows were 8th grade girls who said they felt the anxiety of performing for people, which I think is part of why Bo is so relatable, because that like idea of like performance anxiety has been handed to everyone by virtue of like us being constantly on the internet. You know, like the standards of higher culture and celebrity and Hollywood and content creation have just been given to all of us by social media, which I hate and makes me feel icky, but like it's true. And like that experience is not unique to anyone. But I think like Bo talks about this a little bit too, which is like, it's kind of reassuring almost as a creative person to think that your anxiety or the things you go through are unique. Oh, like that's something that it feels very backwards, but you kind of want to be special. And so finding out that it's not can almost feel like crushing, but then it's also the best thing in the world to realize you're not alone. And that's definitely something that like I struggle with. Like as a very anxious kind of creative type person, I want to think that I'm unique and that I'm special, even if the special things about me are the bad things. But knowing that I'm not alone like makes me feel better, even though
it's both
sometimes I don't want to be.
Yeah, it's both comforting and also very scary to think of the fact that other people are feeling almost the exact same thing that you are. And to me, the comfort comes from wanting to be the only person that feels that way, because then I can almost dissociate from that. Like I can separate myself from the anxiety that comes with performing. So it's like as soon as I get over that initial panic, it's almost like I can kind of separate that. And I think even you saw it earlier when we were trying to start the podcast. Yeah. Like, it kind of goes away. Like I can become different to an extent after you get over that initial like, oh my god, there's gonna be people watching me, even if I'm doing this to have other people watch me.
Yeah. That's another like very backwards thing of like, oh no, I'm anxious about performing, but I love performing, so let me just keep performing even though it makes me feel the worst. Yeah. Which again is something that Bo talks about as well. It's a complex feeling. It is, absolutely. So yeah, that's a bit about the anxiety that kind of plagues his work. And there's one thing that I think kind of ties into this theme that he said in, so he did one podcast during the course of like him working on Inside, and nobody knew he was working on Inside at the time. It was for a Promising Young Woman. But it was like right smack dab in the middle of like December 2020. So he had already started working on Inside, and somebody managed to get him up on a podcast, which is incredible. But something he said during it was, and this is a direct quote, there's something psychically violating and insane about being in front of a camera. It's just like the eye of God and the devil staring at you, like immortalizing you and taking your soul.
Great. Like I totally get why actors are insane. Like, of course, you know, big movie stars, like, yeah, they're overpaid, they're over, but it's like there is something like psychically violating and insane about being in front of a camera. It's just like the eye of God and the devil staring at you, like immortalizing you and taking your soul. It is just like it's just naked, and a film can't just, it's naked in a way that
Also, just to remember and remind everyone what the icon for Inside is. It's a camera.
Well, yeah, that's like the recurring theme of it. So like that, I think that just that one quote really encapsulates how Bo feels about film performing. And then obviously like that clip of the camera zooming in on the camera during Inside, that feels very much like
That's also
the
again
culmination
like
of that.
uncomfortable. Like I don't know why I feel uncomfortable in this moment. It's literally just zooming in on a camera, yet I feel like it's almost intimate in a way. It's like I don't know why I feel weird watching this, but I do. I feel wildly uncomfortable right now.
The whole of Inside kind of feels that way because we are in Bo's house, well, his guest house, watching him have a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And he invited us in. And we're all
It almost
laughing.
doesn't feel like that though. Like it feels almost like he didn't invite us.
That's true.
And this is my own personal thoughts on Inside, but it's almost as if he's doing this because he knows we want to see it. He's not doing this because he's enjoying the fact that we're gonna see it. He's doing it almost out of I need
obligation.
to stop using like he is, because this is again just my theory, my thoughts.
Everything's personal interpretation.
I feel like it's almost like he knows that we want to be able to see what he goes through. And I think it almost felt more like an obligation to him to show us like how bad it really gets. It feels vulnerable.
That's really good.
It feels vulnerable, and I think he wanted us to understand how uncomfortable it can be to be constantly asked when the next thing is coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is what it feels like to constantly have things to be putting out. I was just saying how it feels like more that he was doing Inside out of obligation. Also, I feel like it was definitely a passion project, but I feel like the parts that are vulnerable feel like that because it almost feels forced as to why he filmed those parts.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there is a scene in Inside where it's like he's having a panic attack, and I feel like that maybe it's just he's a good actor, but that feels like it wasn't acting. For me, that felt very real, and it felt
Was
like...
that the one... Which part are you talking about?
It's after, like, the shift, which I refer the shift as, like, when it starts getting darker.
Sad.
Yeah. There's a part where I think it's after he's trying to film that one part over and over and over again. I'll put a clip in for you guys who are watching, but it's the part where he's, like, sobbing. He's, like, crying, and you just see his back. Or something like that.
Okay, there's a part in the outtakes where he's like breathing heavily and like it feels like controlled breathing to stop a panic attack. But then there's also the part in Inside where he's just like having a breakdown. As we zoom in on the camera, which going back to that theme of the camera, watching all these vulnerable moments that like
I feel like that has something to do with it. I feel like that it might have not been acting, and he's putting that in to remind you like it's a lot. I think
I'm of the opinion that all of it's acting, but I do like obviously the themes of it were very real, but I think like everything in there was put in there for a reason.
I do think that too. I guess it brings me comfort, which is maybe
I agree.
But
I think even though like even knowing that it is a performance, like that almost makes me feel better about it in a way that like he chose to perform the dark parts. Like, again, they were probably real feelings that he was having that he then acted out. But, like, knowing that sometimes even the anxiety feels like a performance, like that, that's a whole other thing that I could go into, but...
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, so... anyway, so that's... Anxiety is a big thing that Bo talks about and examines in his work. But I think the bigger thing that kind of is present in all of his work is the internet. And thoughts on the internet and how the internet is destroying us. I think like for Bo, who started on YouTube before it was cool to be on YouTube, that theme probably makes a lot of sense to him. So I respect that. To talk about YouTube specifically, I have a lot of strong feelings about the platform. I think that YouTube has potential. Like, it's just a platform that offers a lot of things, but it has been exploited by a lot of companies and corporations to further progress things that do not need to be progressed. I don't know if that makes sense, but like,
I think it partially does.
Yeah, when you look at the trending page, like, sometimes there's like a homegrown creator on there, but then most of the time it's like a music video or like a late night show clip. And
majority of the time it is taken from other platforms and uploaded on YouTube to get more visibility. It's
like, you do not, like, James Corden does not need to be trending.
No.
Like, he doesn't need it.
Neither does Ariana Grande or Blackpink. And this is coming from a K-pop
They don't need
stan.
that exposure. Yeah, they don't need that exposure.
But those people would get the exposure whether or not they were on YouTube. But I feel like YouTube has become less of a platform for creators and more of a platform to promote other platforms.
Yeah.
Which could probably be said at this point about everything social media. Which I'm sure most of you who are listening or watching are like, why are you talking badly about the internet when this is going on the internet? But I think you can have it both ways. I think you can be critical of a platform and still use it.
Appreciate it and use it, yeah. Because again, there are good things about YouTube. I think, like, and like all social media in general, like, it gives people platforms, even if it's not like as streamlined as maybe it could be. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about that. It's the same thing
about Bo himself, where it's like, yes, he's done very bad things, but I can still enjoy what he's doing now. It's the whole balance of like critical thinking and being able to both criticize and also accept when it comes to any topic.
Yeah. The other thing about YouTube is like, it's very focused, and again, this goes for all social media, like, it's very focused on in the moment kind of instant commentary. Not so much like long form content. I remember a time on YouTube where you could upload anything and it could do fairly well, but now like the algorithm kind of favors shorter content. I think we're kind of in like this TikTok era of things where everybody wants things that are very easily consumable. People don't want to watch an hour-long video. Yeah, so that's the thing that's happening. And those are themes that Bo looks at a lot as well. Another thing that Bo talks about is like, you can't really satirize the internet, because the internet itself is satire, and like the things that you want to make comedy out of are already comedy in and of itself.
Nothing and it's like, you can't original.
Yeah, you can't fight against a platform with the platform's own content, which makes it really hard to comment on anything, because how do you fight against something when they're already using the tools that you're going to fight them with? Like, it's can't fight fire with fire.
Yeah, it's hard to like commentate on a platform when you have to use said platform to have that commentary be viewed.
Yeah. I also think about Twitter a lot, where it's like, you can't have an intellectual discussion on Twitter. Like, that just is not going to happen, because you have 280 characters to say a fully fleshed out thought, and it's like, that's the platform that everyone uses to spread awareness for things.
And it's not even 280 characters only came around like a few years ago. It used to be 160.
Was that 140? I thought it was 140.
160, something.
Whatever, it wasn't enough, basically.
It was enough for like maybe 2 or 3 full sentences, and in an era of people taking what you're saying and then completely switching it and saying, well, you tweet I love apples, you tweet that, and then somebody goes, so you hate bananas?
Yeah.
That's not what was in the tweet.
Twitter's the only platform where that can happen.
I mean,
like, things get so misconstrued on Twitter.
I have seen it happen on a lot of platforms.
That's true,
but I think Twitter is a main source of that. I think it's a place where it's like most common. But anyways, social media.
Yeah, Twitter threads are the funniest thing to me, because like the platform itself encourages you to make threads because they make it really easy to reply to your own tweet. But like if they want you to make threads, why don't they just give you more characters?
Or like that's how twitlongers are now. Where
Yeah.
It's like, and you almost, even if you do a thread, you almost have to clickbait the top like icon.
Yeah.
Or like the first most tweet. You have to like top 10 reasons as to why you should read this thread. And it's like,
Right.
it kind of defeats the purpose, because at that point
Clickbait is everywhere. Clickbait is a whole other thing that like is just destroying content, and like good content is now based around how good of a thumbnail you can get.
How many clicks you
It's
can
like-
get, and not
Yeah.
how good your content actually is. It's based on the
Well,
first 15 seconds of anything.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of like content creators talk too about like how you can't come up with an idea for content and then think of a title and thumbnail. You have to think of a title and thumbnail that are riveting and then make content based around that.
Well, I mean,
Because that's what the algorithm prefers.
That's what we have to do. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
reason why we did Bo Burnham as the first episode, because it's
That's
like
true.
we
It's kind of
didn't,
yeah.
we didn't really know what we were gonna do, and it was kind of like it wrote itself. Like we had to think
Yeah.
of branding first,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's a little frustrating from a creator standpoint, because it's like you can't really just think of ideas. You have to think of what's gonna get you viewed first, and then create an idea off of that. Which
Yeah.
sucks.
It's a whole thing. Back to Bo. To stay on like the same, like these are all the things that we're talking about is nothing that has not been said like by Bo or by the people that he's inspired by. Like all of our ideas, to put it in the words of Bo himself, my ideas are just my thoughts and other people's ideas.
That's
So
true.
like I have no original thoughts or ideas. Like everything that I know comes from other people, and like I'm not ashamed to admit that. But anyway, to talk more about like social media, another clip that I like of Bo, which Apple will insert here, in which Bo says, "The weird sort of dissociative sense of how you go through the world with this thing, and how you float behind yourself like much like a camera, going through a situation. Not only are you present in the situation, you are watching yourself live the situation. You're watching other people watch you. You're watching other people watch you, watch them watch you."
And so on and
Which,
so forth.
and so, yeah, and it just feels like, ugh.
It's true.
I get so overwhelmed by the idea of people watching me, and like seeing me and like perceiving me. That horrifies me. The idea of having an audience is scary to me, and it didn't always used to be this way. I think these are ideas that kind of evolved over this summer while I was getting really into a lot of these themes. It's gross. It's disgusting, and I hate it. But I'm like a hypocrite because I am doing a podcast that people are going to watch.
I think
And
everyone is hypocritical when it comes
Yeah.
to things they enjoy and things they enjoy consuming. There's absolutely no way that you can be completely not hypocritical in your own
Yeah.
thoughts and the way that you perceive things and you perceive the world.
yeah. But to
Because-
go off of that, like just because we're self-aware doesn't mean we're any better.
No, absolutely not.
Like again, since we're talking about Bo, being self-aware, you can't just be a self-aware asshole. You have to actually stop being an asshole. But like, I can't because
No.
I'm a creative and I'm obsessed with making things, and as much as it scares me, I want to be seen. Like,
And I think
I
being,
want.
being self-aware doesn't make you higher than the people that aren't self-aware. It just makes you able to talk about
More
that.
anxious. It just makes me more anxious than the
Yeah.
average creator.
It makes it more topical, and it makes it something that you can comment on more, but that doesn't make your commentary better or worse than your counterparts.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, the internet is something that Bo talks about a lot. How, you know, we didn't really have to streamline our social lives. You know, we didn't have to be like, oh, you had 5 friends, now you've got 1,000. Like, we didn't have to do that. You know, corporations ran out of space to commodify, and so they started commodifying our brains, and our psychology, which is disgusting. I hate Silicon Valley people.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's
Bunch
the
of
same thing with like
lizards.
the reason why short-term content is doing well right now is because of TikTok, and because we've grown accustomed to viewing our information in these 15, 30-second, 60-second clips.
I saw, this is really topical. I watched a video today, and it was someone saying, like, it was about giant salamanders. And it was a video of someone saying, like, it's illegal to see a giant salamander. And everyone in the comments was like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, please explain this. So the person made a second video, and, you know, TikTok has a 3-minute video feature now. So this person took advantage of that, and wanted to talk about, like, some things before they actually answered the question of, like, what do you mean by it's illegal to see a giant salamander? And I watched, like, the first 10 seconds and realized they weren't answering the question. And I looked in the comments and it was like, if you want an answer to the question, it's at 140. And I scrolled through to 140 to get to the answer. I was like, and then I as soon as I got it, I closed out, and I was thinking, like, I couldn't just watch a minute and 40 seconds of someone talking about something that's not relevant.
Well, I do this. I literally, to combat that, I follow a creator on TikTok who does, like, time-saving videos, who will take a 3-minute video and then just concise it into a 15-second video.
Yeah.
And it's, like, that's what I'm saying when I say I'm no better. I'm commentating and saying that it's screwing with us, but I'm a part of the us. I'm still the same person that still consumes that content. I'm no better.
Yeah, it's the... Yeah.
So to make that clear, we aren't saying that we are higher than other people.
Not.
We're just talking about it.
And then the other thing is, like, everything kind of exists on the same level. Like, all of our content takes the same amount of priority. Yeah. It's like, in no particular order, you can go on Twitter and see your mother, Donald Trump, the Queen died, McDonald's, your little cousin. Like, and then they all take the same priority because they're all just on your tiny little screen, and you're just scrolling through them all.
Well, it's the same thing as, like, you wake up to find the Queen is dead by going on to TikTok.
To Twitter and TikTok. Does anyone look at the news anymore?
No, because that, again, a whole other episode topic, but social media is the news now. There's no news channels, there's no TV channels. I mean, they still exist, but who really watches them anymore? All we want is
old people.
All we want is that, like, 280 character post that makes it all into an easy, digestible form of us to be able to consume it. Because we don't want to sit through a minute and 40 seconds of a clip.
Yeah. Ugh.
And now we've got dubstep remixes of the bass dropping saying the Queen is dead.
The Queen is dead. Yeah,
that's our
icky.
new way of finding out information is through TikToks.
Yeah. And I think, like, that really minimizes the importance of things to us. It's like, the Queen died, and I was like, what? Because I saw it on Twitter. Or not Twitter. I guess I saw it on TikTok. It's like, I was like, okay, like, that's cool. Like, I mean, not cool. Like, she's dead. But, like...
that by itself, though, because I saw it on TikTok, and then I had to clarify by going on Twitter to, like, see if it wasn't just... Because sometimes there will be information on one social media, and so I have to, like, confirm via a second social media to see if it's not just one platform talking about something, which is insane to me that now I have to, like, confirm information via a different social media and what's trending on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like, to talk about, like, our little screens, like, no wonder we don't care about things, because, like, we have, you know, a phone, and it's like, look at all these stupid little people on my stupid little phone. It's like, that's what I think when I look at my phone, is like, oh, everything's so stupid and small.
Yeah.
It's like,
it doesn't feel real.
Something that Bo talks about, like, it's really pathetic that the only place that can get us to put down our little screens is when we want to look at a big screen in a theater. It's like, oh, let me stop looking at the little stupid people on my phone and go look at the big people on the big screen. And then, like, movies feel important to us. Anyway, that's the internet.
That's it. That's the whole internet.
That's the whole internet. That is the whole thing. So yeah, I think those are, like, two of kind of the main themes in Bo's work, and, like, things he talks about is, like, the internet and anxiety, and how the internet contributes to anxiety, and how anxiety kind of fuels some of the content we see. It's a big feedback loop, I think. Big echo chamber, if that's the right word to use there. But
I think so.
some other random fun facts about Bo to kind of settle us
Lighten it
down
up.
and get us out of the sad mood. One of his favorite songs as a teenager was Lou Bega's Mambo Number 5. A little bit of Monica in my life. Little bit of... Anyway. He grew so fast in high school. Fun fact, Bo is 6'5". 6'5", I think. He grew so fast in high school that he had stretch marks on his back. And he lied to all of the theater kids and told them that they were from a girl scratching his back during sex.
As he should. But also, as a theater kid, instant lie.
No, I know. Like, theater kids are not that dumb. Like,
No.
I know we're pretty, like...
We know the couch exists, but also, like, absolutely not.
Don't even... Oh, the couch.
Everyone who's in theater knows about that.
Did you have a couch?
Oh, we had 2.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Where were yours?
We had left stage and right stage.
Oh, ours was in the green room.
No. Our green room wasn't big enough. Well, I mean, we did have a couch in the green room, but I don't think it was, like, the couch.
Yeah, ours was in the green room, and as a sad little freshman, I didn't realize what the couch was, and I sat on the couch. I was in costume, so it wasn't like my personal clothes, but
but still.
I still felt gross. Anyway, back to Bo. He once wrote an extra 10-page paper to bump a grade from a B+ to an A-, which is the kind of shit that I would do.
Yeah.
I would do that as a traumatized, burnt out, gifted kid. I would 100% write an extra paper to bump a grade up 1 level.
A 10-page paper at that, too.
Yeah. He once caught 2 extras making out on the set of 8th grade, which I respect. I respect those 2 extras.
Good for them.
And finally, one of his favorite YouTube videos is of a man cooking sausages and peaches, which is just blended up peaches and hot dogs cooked with a lighter and a candle.
If that's not the most Midwestern thing I've ever heard.
I don't think he's even from the Midwest. He has like a different accent.
I don't know. Well, Bo's from Massachusetts, but
yeah. Put a clip of it in here.
No, if I can find it, I will.
Of the sausages and peaches, man. I can send you the video. It's
please do.
Horrifying. It's both fascinating and horrifying, and you can't help but feel a little bit bad for this guy because he's like, when you look at the video, it's like he like lives in like a hoarder house. There's like stuff everywhere. At one point he turns the wrong burner on the oven on and sets something on fire. It's just chaotic, and it's one of my favorite things ever.
Let us know, to the people watching. We're having a poll now, if you think he's Midwestern or not.
He's not. Once you hear the video, like he's not. He's international somewhere. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I got on Bo Burnham. My current like thing that my brain is stuck on.
Brain rot.
So brain rot, Bo Burnham brain rot. So
yeah. Well, I enjoyed hearing about that.
That was a good dive.
It was a good dive.
We went pretty deep, I think. Pretty sufficiently deep, one might say.
We went hashtag deep on that one.
Hashtag deep. We never talked about how we were gonna end this.
No, we didn't.
Bye!
Bye! No, I think...
And then cut it there.
I will want to say, like, if you guys have any suggestions on topics, because we will be posting clips and stuff to different social media. If you guys
like
have
the
any...
hypocrites we are?
Yes. We are hypocrites. We will do anything for views. No. Maybe not kidding. We'll see.
Well, no, we are 100% kidding.
But if you guys have any topic ideas, let us know. You can put it in the comments wherever they are surrounding us. And we'd love to hear like what you guys want us to dive deep on. I think it'll be interesting. We do have a few topics coming up in the future. I'm not going to say what they are exactly yet because I don't know the order of which we will be researching because some of them are heavier topics. So we're gonna try to like intersperse some of the heavier and darker topics versus the ones that are more lighter, and sometimes we'll have a mixture, like today, where it was kind of like a little bit of both. So I hope you guys enjoyed deep diving with us.
Yay!
But yeah,
Right.